A chilly morning, Saturday morning, we're about 56 degrees. A cold start Sunday, rebounding to maybe only about 53 degrees over the weekend. President's Day back to close to 60 degrees, and then another big warm up as we get to next week. Next Tuesday, we're at 63, mid 60s. Wednesday, there's your average high, 57 degrees this time of the year.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
Tonight, we have an update in a deadly Halloween shooting that happened in Southeast Charlotte. After further investigation, CMPD has made an arrest. 26-year-old Jawan Smith has been charged with murder and shooting into an occupied dwelling. This is Smith's mugshot from a 2022 arrest in connection with a separate deadly shooting. Now, back on Halloween night, police say Cameron Robertson was killed just a block away from East Mecklenburg High School.
Start here. Charlotte leaders voting 7-3 tonight to recriminalize several city ordinances. That's despite intense pushback, though, from nonprofits and the community as a whole.
A total of 6 city laws, including sleeping outside, public defecation, panhandling, and public drinking, are now an arrestable offense. As WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman reports, about 30 people spoke out against the changes, saying they will only worsen Charlotte's homelessness problem.
Many people who spoke at the city council meeting think it's immoral and unethical to arrest someone for relieving themselves in public or sleeping in public when the city is not providing adequate alternatives.
If we had more public bathrooms, this would not be on the agenda tonight.
It would be wrong to do that, to put poor people in the jail just for being poor.
A passionate debate Monday on whether criminalizing several city ordinances will unfairly impact people who are homeless.
I used to hold myself overnight because I had nowhere to go.
James Lee says he used to be homeless, and there weren't enough public restrooms in Charlotte then or now.
I did put myself in the situation. Okay, I get granted. But still, as a citizen, I should still be respected enough to have a place to go.
He and many others are against criminalizing public defecation and sleeping outside because they say it does not address the root issue.
We lack the infrastructure for public bathrooms. We lack the infrastructure for emergency shelter beds.
Others adding having a criminal record makes it harder to get housing. Thus, arresting for these actions could worsen homelessness.
What we're really talking about is basic civil behavior.
Several people living in Uptown spoke in favor of criminalizing the ordinances, including public drinking, to address public safety concerns.
We moved here because it was safe and it was clean and had opportunity. But today our city is far less safe and far less clean.
The city installed 2 public porta-johns in Uptown Monday and hopes to add more by the end of the month as a temporary solution. It's also deploying a mobile shower and bathroom unit in the next couple months. In Uptown, Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
Now, 2 of the ordinances up for recriminalization were removed from the vote tonight due to possible legal concerns. Those were unauthorized persons in parking lots and loitering for the purposes of drug-related activity. The recriminalized offenses will be so starting March 1st.
WCNC Charlotte.
Good morning, Carolinas.
Tune in to the team that's preparing you for your day.
The one and only Larry Sprinkle.
See the difference in your morning.
It is bitter cold just about anywhere you look.
Here's a look right here at I-77 northbound.
Trying to make your dollar stretch a little bit further.
Responsible reporting, community-focused, unique content.
It's so good to see you.
You too. Oh, y'all are having too much fun.
See the difference. Weekday mornings on WCNC Charlotte.
As we inch towards the primaries here in the Carolinas, black voters often a powerful voting bloc. Kia joins us now with more on how the Carolinas stack up when it gets to getting those voters to the polls. Kia?
That's right. Well, Wallet Hub put together a ranked list that measures the states with the highest and lowest turnout among black voters. The report comes after researchers noticed the difference in turnout between black and white voters in the 2020 presidential election. Now, it showed a noticeable gap, of course, in participation. That was with 71% of white Americans taking to the polls and then 63% of black Americans doing the same. As for the rankings, here's where the Carolinas stand, though. North Carolina is closer to the top of the list. The Tar Heel State comes in at number 14 in highest political engagement. South Carolina follows behind at number 20. But we wanted to know the why behind the rankings. It's why we caught up with Wallet Hub's team on what's causing this difference in engagement.
Low turnout among Black voters exists primarily due to historical disenfranchisement, systemic discrimination, and the inequality resulting from that, including disparities in education, socioeconomic status, and political representation.
Now, even more on this study. Wallet Hub adds blue states, or those that are Democratic leaning, tend to show higher rates of turnout among Black voters.
Hundreds of widows across Charlotte are getting special deliveries today, thanks to what's called the Valentine's Widow Outreach Project.
A mother in South Charlotte started this effort 4 years ago, and since
The other thing that we wanted to note were mental health resources for anyone who feels concerns from yesterday's events. Please call 988, and that's how we can connect you with services. We also will be making victim advocacy services available following this crisis. With that, we'll come back for questions after the police chief and the fire chief speak. With that, I'll turn it over to Police Chief Stacey Graves.
Police Chief Stacey Graves. As you know, yesterday we experienced a tragic event during a time that was meant for celebration. The law enforcement response was exemplary. Those in attendance also responded. They helped one another and even physically stopped a person who was believed to be involved in the incident. I want to thank the people who acted bravely yesterday alongside law enforcement, to include the Kansas City Fire Department. Your selfless act did not go unnoticed. Thank you, Kansas City. I'm angered by what occurred in our city yesterday, but I'm also thankful for the response. Members of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, the Kansas City Fire Department, city officials, federal partners, and many others have worked around the clock investigating this incident. All of their hard work and dedication has allowed me the opportunity to provide you this update today. I want to thank the Attorney General, the Governor, the Mayor, and numerous other elected officials, as well as numerous chiefs of police for reaching out to me directly, offering support, assistance, to include federal resources to assist in this investigation. First and foremost, I want to stress that preliminary investigative findings have shown there was no nexus to terrorism or homegrown violent extremism between several people that ended in gunfire. During the overnight hours, we learned there are 23 victims of yesterday's shooting. One of our victims, Elizabeth Galvin, 43 years old, died. We're still learning about her, but know that she is beloved by many. To her friends and family, we are with you, and we are working tirelessly to investigate her murder. The 22 victims' age ranged between 8 years old and 47 years old. At least half of our victims are under the age of 16. As mentioned yesterday, we have subjects detained, 2 of which are juveniles. We are working to determine the involvement of others, and it should be noted we have recovered several firearms. This incident is still a very active investigation. We ask anyone in the vicinity of the shooting, that directly witnessed the shooting incident, has any video of the shooting incident, or is a victim of the shooting who has not yet reported to police, please call this dedicated line, 816-413-3477. I know there are many more questions that you all want answers to that I may not have answered just yet. It's critical that we protect the integrity of this case so that we can bring justice to the victims, their families, and everyone else involved. It should also be noted we are also working closely with our Jackson County Prosecutor's Office.
Not yet.
We're going to pass this on to Chief Graves from the Fire Department.
Good morning. I'm Fire Chief Ross Grundleson. We had one fatality that was on scene, 8 critical, 7 serious, and 6 patients with minor injuries. All the critical patients were transported off the scene within 10 minutes of our point of contact. We transported to Children's Mercy, University Health, and St. Luke's in the Plaza. KCFD had a plan in place, and we were ready to respond to an incident like this. At the time of the shooting, we had approximately 8 personnel from KCFD and KC Medical who were assisting us in the immediate area. Some of those members were within 40 feet of where the shooting took place. These members did not run for cover, but stayed on scene to treat and triage the injured, while additional KCFD units ran to their assistance. I am very grateful and proud of the service of these crews that worked this terrible incident. They gave their all yesterday, like they do every day in this city. And again, put the public's lives above their own. And we're grateful for that. I also want to say thanks to all the mutual aid partners that we worked with on this incident. Very grateful for their assistance. Thank you.
Questions? Chief, I wanted to ask you about a comment you made yesterday. You said this is not Kansas City. You just mentioned that this was an argument, apparently, that escalated. We had a similar situation. It just happened right around the corner at Crown Center, less than a month ago. Last year, we set a record for homicides in this community with 182. So isn't gun violence, in fact, very much a part of what we face here in Kansas City routinely?
We do face gun violence here in Kansas City. But my note of this is not Kansas City is that we had likely 1 million people down in and around this celebration. To have the ability to have that many people in our downtown area with I don't want to minimize this event, but that's Kansas City. That is 1 million people that are able to come together for a celebration. Again, you have just a handful, or I don't have a specific number of actors in this that perpetrated the violence that played out.
Do you have arrests? Because my understanding, you can only hold these folks for so long before you have to charge them. Have you charged them yet?
We have not charged them yet. This is still under investigation. We do have 24 hours until we have to either file charges or release them.
That'll happen today.
Again, we are working closely with the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office to present the most successful case for prosecution.
Is there issues with linking them to the actual shooting? Do you have enough evidence at this point to make the arrest?
So some of those questions, I'm not able to give a direct answer just because I want to protect the integrity of this investigation. My focus right now and what is most important to us is to make sure that everything in this case is presented for successful prosecution.
I
so some of those questions,
but it seems we're so. Wait, hold on a second, Mr. Mayor. It seems like we are so many hours from the shooting, and at this point, you're not announcing an arrest. I just don't understand why.
We have subjects that are detained, like I said earlier. That is under investigation. We have detectives that have worked overnight and through the night that are still upstairs right now working with our Jackson County Prosecutor's Office for the furtherance of this investigation.
I have enough.
That we have all intentions of presenting charges.
Okay, I understand. The other thing I wanted to ask you about the individuals. Were they part of a gang? Is this some kind of gang crew situation?
The relationship between the subjects involved, that's still under investigation.
Just one thing.
Go after the lady.
Can we?
Please.
You're
good. Go.
For the 3 suspects or the 3 people you currently have in custody, were they known to Kansas City police prior to this, or any federal law enforcement or other law enforcement?
That is also under investigation.
Chief, can you tell us the locations where there was
more than one location where the shootings took place, correct? Can you tell us that?
Initial reports were that there was more than one location. It really is. That's not the case. It was mostly on the west side of the station.
Chief, you made it sound like you're not sure at this point how many people may have been involved. Does that mean there are potentially more shooters out in the open right now?
What that is, if I could clarify that, is that we are not closing the door and giving direct numbers on this. This is still an active investigation. We are still asking the public that if anyone noticed that, if anyone witnessed the shooting directly, to still contact police. We want to make sure that anyone that was responsible for yesterday is brought to justice.
Again, the name of the victim.
Elizabeth Galvin.
And how old is she?
43.
Okay, and what exact time did the shooting was? When was that reported, and where exactly?
It was approximately, I believe, it was maybe 1:50 p.m. I'm not completely sure on exactly when the shots were fired, but it was at the conclusion of the celebration rally. Yes, sir.
Chief, can you elaborate at all on the firearms that were recovered on the scene?
Right now, I am not going to elaborate on that.
The mayor this morning.
There were several firearms that were recovered.
Mr. Mayor,
would minors have been able to legally hold on to
just
their
a second.
weapons?
What was your
Is
question?
the ATF helping?
We have engaged our federal partners. Kansas City, Missouri Police Department has a great relationship with our federal partners. We have historically, and they have offered all of their assistance to whatever we need.
Would minors have been able to legally possess these weapons if they were legally obtained somehow? Would a minor be able to have that weapon in public?
Minors should not be in
What does
possession
it mean
of
to
weapons.
have them in public?
One of the weapons, sir, this morning I was watching local news. You were talking about a high-powered weapon.
Yes.
Juveniles.
Yep.
People shouldn't have. Is that something that was a high-powered weapon used in this incident?
I think the chief explained right now there's still an investigation as to the firearms. Firearms have been retrieved, and then we'll learn more about it. To the extent that I was speaking towards it, it was from listening to sounds of gunfire, both in person and certainly in connection with what I have since seen in video as well. But we'll have all that information as soon as possible. That's being investigated.
If there was a long gun, and I know you haven't said so, but there have been some pictures shown of like an AR or something to that effect. If there's a long weapon, wouldn't that be something that you have hundreds of police officers there? Wouldn't that be something they would potentially be able to spot before it's even used?
I think our police officers did an outstanding job yesterday. I'm not here to second guess any part of that work. I know that we will review this situation like we do any other incident to make sure that we can keep the people of Kansas City safe in future times. Yes?
Last question about the victims that were hospitalized. Do we have an update on how many were discharged, specifically the 9 gunshot wound victims that were children?
We don't have the updates on the conditions of the children that were hospitalized.
Was there additional shootings that happened near or around the rally?
I didn't hear you.
Were there any additional shootings that took place before or around the rally?
Yesterday it was mentioned that there was a shooting in and around 27th and Gillum, that area. And we were also asked if that had anything to do with this shooting. Right now we don't have any information that those are related.
Was there
that's under investigation.
Was there consideration of having metal detectors? Chief Mayor, would you do another parade next year for Chief Flynn?
I'll just do the parade point.
Would you do that again if Chief Flynn would be holding another parade? Because I've talked to people that said they wouldn't come back.
Here's the thing. We have a plan for St. Patrick's Day parade in Kansas City. We have parades all the time. I don't think they'll end. Certainly we recognize the public safety challenges at issue that relate to it. This is why we have detectives right now who are doing important work to make sure the people who committed these offenses are brought to justice. We will learn about the types of firearms that is used, and we'll do everything that we can, both as a city and working with our state and federal partners to see that we can help avoid these types of situations. Unfortunately, this is not the first shooting at a parade in our country or a rally. That is certainly a tragic incident for us because we don't have experience with them. You asked the chief at the outset, is this Kansas City? Well, we've had parades like this before. We had one last year without this type of incident. We had a Kansas City Royals victory parade where we had almost no arrests in 2015. So I don't think in any way that this is Kansas City. I do think that there's a gun violence challenge in this community and many others. And there certainly is a gun violence challenge as it relates to major events. That, however, does not mean that Kansas City will stop having major events We do all we can to make sure people are safe. And that's why I think you're seeing so many people in KCPD and the Kansas City Fire Department doing work to address that.
What's the expected brief again? Was there consideration of having metal detectors at the event?
Lighting is a little hard. Okay, no, you're good.
Maybe you've seen them in your friend's car or have your